Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Thank you for coming out today. Do we have any first-timers here in the room? Ooh, lots of first-timers. Fantastic. Welcome. This is a community event, so all of us are volunteers, and of course you're all here on your own free will, and that's really what makes everything go around, so we appreciate it. Thank you for coming. What we'll do is each of our presenters are going to get up for about 5 minutes, give their pitches. They'll then come down to the front. We have an expert panel today that's going to be asking them some questions. After that, we'd love to hear your questions. So over here at the microphone, go ahead and line up when you're ready to ask a question, and we'll turn it over to you at that point. So today's, let's see, so we have a 1 Million Cups app, so feel free to download that. You can check in, you can ask questions, you can give feedback to your presenters. It's just in the App Store. Then our experts today are Morgan Perry and Kelly from the library. They're going to take a second and introduce themselves. I believe you have a microphone.
I do. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us this morning. We are both from Mid-Continent Public Library. We work on a specialized team, thank you library lover, that supports small businesses and entrepreneurs out in the community.
Yeah, so we have a team of specialists. I'm the small business librarian, so I help with research. We also have a team member who helps with social media. Morgan kind of helps with food businesses, food trucks, and our outreach. So we connect you with the right person or the expert in the community and help you get your business going.
Also, we'd like to welcome Larissa Uretti. She's the newest member of the team. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Yay! Hi guys. So I am Larissa Uretti. I run Nowhere Consultants. You may have seen me tweeting like a fiend up at the front here and help out with some social media for 1 Million Cups. And I love this community because I love seeing what is happening in KC. It's really easy to get sequestered sort of in your office and lose track of that. So welcome everyone. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Also in our audience today, we have representation from the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, and we also have visitors from the Netherlands, some officials and some entrepreneurs. So first up today is going to be Dr. Brandy Archie with Accessible Living. I'm not going to steal her thunder. I'll let you tell her all about it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all for coming. I'm Dr. Brandy Archie. I'm an occupational therapist and the founder of Accessible Living. So what we do, the problem that we're having is if you are having trouble or somebody that you know is having trouble doing some of their everyday things in their home, you have two kind of ways to go. You might get an occupational therapist who comes to your house and helps you figure out some of the things that you might need, like in the picture there, to help you be more independent. Or you might have a conversation with somebody at the hospital after having a knee replacement or a spinal cord injury. But they're not allowed to sell you any of that equipment, set it up, or install it for you. You could go directly to a medical supply store and have a whole host of things that are available for you to help make your home safe and independent for you. But they're not going to come to your house, they're not going to install it, and they're not staffed with the clinical expertise to tell you which one of these wonderful products works for you. So what we're doing to solve that problem is mixing both of those things together. So we're the only mobile medical supply store that also has free home clinical assessments. And so that part is really important because all of these different things can be helpful to each person depending on what their problem is, but not everyone is for you. And we close a circle by making sure that the whole problem gets taken care of. Education, getting the equipment, and getting it installed. So here's our process. First, we have to identify people who would benefit, which would be somebody discharging from the hospital, somebody you know that's been having multiple falls, a change in our ability, which happens to all of us at some point in our lives, somebody who might be already planning to do a bathroom or a kitchen remodel, changes in memory or thinking skills, or maybe you just notice that somebody you love is avoiding doing certain activities that they would have normally done. So then we come and do a free home assessment. So just like if you call a plumber or an electrician and you want them to diagnose the problem, we come and do that because we think the education part is really important. We go room by room and determine what the areas of struggle are, and then come up with solutions that may be equipment focused or also resource focused in the community to help solve that problem. You also get that information in writing, which is helpful so you can follow up with everything over time. So then, after you decide what we're going to tackle first, which you might not want to do everything all at one time, we will come and install everything. And that's already included in the price, so it's free for you. We also make sure that you try it before we leave. So instead of just bringing a wheelchair and say, here you go, we're getting in it, we're making sure you can push it through the house, we're making sure that it works for you. So because we care a lot about our recommendations, if we bring something that we recommended and it doesn't solve your problem, we will take it back, which is one thing that you can't really do a lot of times at retail stores or medical supply stores, because a lot of things are for the bathroom and they won't take those back. So after we've done all that, we've solved all the problems, and so you get to stay at home safely. And so for just an example, a $500 investment in some simple modifications to your home can avoid a $5,000 a month stay at an assisted living facility. And that same $500 can prevent a fall or a broken hip that would be super costly in your medical expenses. So I don't do this by myself, thankfully. We have a team that I work with. So Zachariah Archie is my husband and co-director. I have Katie Tipton, who's a certified occupational therapy assistant, also doing the home assessments, and Mark Bush, who also happens to be my brother, who's our contractor. I like to use people that I trust to make sure that you're getting the greatest care. But there are a few realities. So this is a new model. It doesn't really exist. So people don't know to look for us because they don't know that this service would even be out there. Additionally, people are really unaware of how few medical equipment or supplies are actually covered by their insurance. So when you're talking about something that happened because of a medical issue, you're expecting your insurance is going to cover it. You've been paying for it this whole time. But actually, one of those shower chairs in your shower is not covered by insurance, even though your insurance will pay for your broken hip. So an additional challenge is getting people to consider modifications in advance. Nobody likes to think about the idea that things might change over time. And if you do it in advance, it's really helpful because then it can be better integrated into a remodel or prevent something from happening in the future. So, ways that you can help. The number one thing is by spreading the word. So, I'm going to pass these out. We've got a sticker for you to keep and a brochure for you to give to somebody, who you know, because everybody knows somebody who's struggling a little bit with some of their everyday things. A grandmother, a parent, a friend, an aunt, somebody can be helpful. And that's why we like to do our assessment for free. There you go. Additionally, we like to connect with social workers and case managers that you might know at rehab facilities, hospitals, and home health care agencies. We can really help make their jobs easier by providing all the services at one time instead of them having to look for stuff for their patients. We also would love for you to connect with us on social media so you can know what we're doing and share with your friends. And then also, I think one of the best ways to really understand the benefit of our service is to go to our website and download our catalog so you can see some of the really helpful solutions that are in there to solve everyday problems. That's all I got. Thank you.
Dr. Archie, thank you.
No problem.
We really like seeing on 1 Million Cups the real world stuff that could seem boring, but it's a part of everyone's life. You all came from somewhere. You're gonna have to worry about somebody at some point in time with these issues. So thank you for bringing this in. I have a couple of general questions for you. One is, where's my story? I need a story.
Okay.
And this is, I mean, you could have gotten me to cry. You could have done it with this topic.
You're right.
And I think you need to embrace that and make me cry. Give me a reason, right? Because this isn't fun. And if you don't get me to recognize how real this is, I'm not going to worry about it when you could have saved me money. And I like that you brought in, this is going to save you money, but I need it to be bigger because I think that's what's going to drive a lot for you.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing is, you got to tell me the story. This is begging for a story. So, Thelma, give me Gerald, give me somebody, but give me that story, and then tell me what that story means to the generation below them.
My business mentor is going to kill me because he's been saying that same thing. So, I hope he's not watching. Well, let me give you a story. I can give you the story about why I do this, but I think it's more important to hear about some of the people I've worked with. So, somebody referred me to a lady, and I walked into her house, and the reason they asked me to come was because she was considering getting something to put in her seat so she could get out of her seat, because she was not strong enough to stand up. And I said, I don't like those things. They exist. You can buy them. But I have a better idea. So I came to assess, and this lady's legs were so swollen. One leg was bigger than both of my legs together. She was a short lady, but she could not get out of her chair. And she also couldn't get up the stairs to her bed, so she was sleeping in that chair and living in that chair, but really couldn't get out. She had pillows piled up to here so that she could at least have a little leverage to get up out of her chair. And so for a very easy time, we built a box that goes underneath the seat. So you put it on the floor and you put the chair on top of it, which raised it about 6 inches for her, which is what she needed. We measured that. Then she was able to get out of it.
I'm so sorry, it was already too long. When we say tell me the story, what we want to hear and what they want to hear and what's going to be most effective for them is that you need to start with that moment of pain, that inciting incident, and then work it back from there, because you unfortunately have about 15 seconds for the general public to get up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've gone past that 15 seconds, I'm thinking about dinner.
Oh, it's good.
That's the deal, because you got to think out. You got to think from their perspective, not your perspective. So you got to start with that inciting incident. Lady with the legs. Make it about the lady with the legs and the people that are responsible for caring about her. And if you start there and then you show up half or 3/4 through with the solution, but you got to condense this stuff. You got to distill it down when you're doing the storytelling. Distill it down to the point where I don't have to pay incredible amounts of attention, because that's part of working with the general public.
I hear you.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, great story. I just was gonna scroll past you because you didn't get there soon enough for me.
Okay.
But if your business coach is already telling you this stuff, then I'm sure he'll follow up with you later.
So we work with a lot of people who are in the initial stages of starting their business, and I'm curious about what was it that made you want to make the transition into business, because you were a professional as an occupational therapist, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what made you want to switch over to doing business full time?
Because I ran into this problem all the time.
Okay.
So I was going to see patients, and they needed things that I could get for them, and they could pay me back for, but that's unethical. And so they can't get out of the house. I come to their house, but I can't solve their problem. So I had to get out of the system and create a new system.
So it was a problem that you saw nobody was addressing. Kind of.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a huge reason people get into businesses, it seems a lot of times, especially when they're professionals. So what's something that you know now that you wish you knew back then?
I think I wish I knew that I could do it and do it sooner. I've worked all over the country as a traveler, and this problem exists everywhere. It just happens that I live in Kansas City, I started it here. But it's a need everywhere.
Because I'm a terrible person, I need a slide about the money. Yep.
A slide about the money. I wanted
Slide
you to
about the
ask
money.
the question about the money.
Oh my gosh, yes, tell me about the money, Dr. Archie. I want to know.
Yes. Okay, so we don't bill insurance, mostly because 75% of the things in our catalog are not covered by insurance. And the things that are covered by insurance, people have to meet very specific requirements. And you might need a hospital bed, but Medicare thinks you don't. So we avoid the whole system altogether. That is not something that people are used to doing, but it's way faster and more effective. We also offer refurbished equipment for that exact reason, so that the price can be lower.
Is there a video clip of you saying that exactly somewhere?
No, but there can be.
Because I got on your website, and I liked that I saw a face immediately at the top, because I kind of need to see a face.
Yeah, people like faces.
Or dinner. So, but I didn't see your face until almost like dead last on the bottom. It was you and then follow Facebook. You are credible and amazing.
Thank you.
And if it's my parent or my grandparent, which we're talking about this stuff all the time around my grandparents right now, I need your credibility and your voice leading me through this decision-making process. Because customer education is a huge part of what you're doing, right?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, you've got quite the hill to climb. Video is going to help you climb that hill. Because I'm going to see it, and then what am I going to do with it? If I find you incredibly, you're going to solve my problems for me, right?
Oh, yeah.
You have DR die in front of your name, lady. Work that. I'm going to share it with everyone else that I know that's going through the same thing. But if that vehicle isn't there for me to do that with, then I can't do it. We really like your stuff, though.
Thank you.
We have a few questions over here from the community. If you have any questions, please make your way this way to the microphone, and I will turn it over for our first question.
Hi.
Hi.
So you have a great idea, but I will tell you that I have two aged parents, and I know that it's not just the elderly who need this, because there are people who are born with these needs and people in the course of their lives, even when relatively young, need these things for all kinds of reasons. But when they're elderly, and that's my experience, it has been a fight to get elderly people to realize that there are solutions to these problems. I still remember when my mom was amazed that there was a device that could help her put on her socks after a knee surgery, for example.
Yes.
So the problem is, though, that they're not going to go search on the internet. They're not going to call somebody. They're not going to look. I don't even know if there's yellow pages anymore. But anyway, they're just not going to go looking in places for this help. So how do you make yourself known to these people? Now, you mentioned other professionals, but what's your plan there? How are you going to get the kind of notoriety, positive notoriety, that you are so busy that you're going to have to hire a whole bunch of extra people?
Thank you, that's a great question. There's a couple of ways to think about it. One is, if you get a recommendation from somebody that's a medical professional, people tend to go with those things. So we do try to stick in, that's why we try to get the social workers and therapists, people that they might encounter. But additionally, we also want to get the people who are their loved ones, because that's the people that they listen to also. And so if you're noticing that a parent is having trouble and you come and say, look, you can use a sock aid to put your sock on, they're hearing that. They're not going on Facebook to search for me. So I definitely appreciate that. But being around in the community so people's loved ones can find it and recommend it to someone is our best way of getting to people. We also do in-services at like retirement communities that are independent, so we can reach them directly. So it's definitely a multifaceted approach.
Good morning.
Hi.
I'm very impressed with this because my 96-year-old mother is much in this area. However, two things. Is your company making a profit now?
We are breaking even. We are breaking even.
Congratulations. When you open that second or third one, you need to think about franchising. This can go way across the United States when you can show people how to market to people and such. And one marketing line I would use are occupational therapists that are going out and already working with insurance companies and have them give a discount. If you go in and you do this, they'll split the cost with the people. You get the insurance agents talk about this and they see a sale on this, that they can do this with their premiums, they're going to love you too, and they're going to be good salespeople. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that and have tried a little bit to get in with insurance agencies and insurance companies. It's just a little bit of a challenge because it's a new model. We have to think about it. It's not like something that already like, yes, we'll do this. But over time, I think I'm wearing some people down.
I'm probably like a classic consumer because I'm the child of a person who needs aids.
Yes.
And my first question is how you address that. Some things are covered by Medicare, some things aren't. In my case, my parent is elderly, so she uses Medicare. And I assume you also have a market that's pre-Medicare, like a 52-year-old getting a hip replacement or whatever. But I'm not sure that I know the difference. Like, I knew to go to a store that sells the stuff. You know, and I've seen all very cool sock putter honors and the various, you know, things that create accessibility for people. I'm not sure I'm hearing the difference. Like, I would assume if you brought that to me, it would cost me more. Like, so a $50 item, if you brought it to me, I have to assume it would cost me $68 or whatever, because I would assume you have to have a margin in there. But I'm sort of curious about that.
Yes. So it doesn't necessarily cost more for me to bring it to you because markups at stores are really high. We don't have a retail location for that purpose, to keep our costs down, but also because we feel like it's important to come to your home to make sure that what we're recommending works for you. And there's no better way to do that than actually be present. So actually it breaks out to be about the same. So that doesn't necessarily show up anywhere on our website or social media, but it certainly can be. If that's a concern, I can appreciate that for sure.
Well, I think that would be a value, you know, to share with folks, because if they knew, not only are you getting the shower chair, you're also going to get instruction on how to use it and not, you know, fall over while you're trying to get in and out, etc.
Yes. Thank you.
Hello. So my question to you is about the refurbished products that you get. So for later on, like if you're trying to expand, how do you plan on maintaining kind of like when you get refurbished items, you have to look for them. So how do you know you're always going to be able to find them and find them for a good cost and for a good quality? Because refurbished items kind of vary with quality.
So we definitely have the disclaimer that refurbished items vary, so we don't necessarily put every refurbished item on our website because we don't always know that we'll have it. But I have partnered with a company in the area that already does refurbished equipment and has mechanics that are working on it. So it's not just me going to a thrift store and finding random stuff. So that makes it expandable for Kansas City. We just have to find those same kind of partnerships in other cities as we grow.
Okay. And so, sorry, just a follow-up
Sure.
question to that. So are those prices fixed, or is like each patient gonna get, like, one patient might get a good deal on a product and then the next patient may not because it wasn't as widely available or as cheap at that point? Or
Good question. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So there are some things that I kind of always have, like walkers and wheelchairs, and those stay at the same price. Some little special items that are more expensive when they're new are also more expensive when they're refurbished, but the prices don't change that much to where like today you might get a good deal on it and tomorrow you don't. We try to keep it pretty the same. Our costs are about the same, we keep that the same, so we keep our costs to you guys the same too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, thank you for presenting today. I immediately get what you're talking about. So, my family and I, 5 months, took care of my grandfather after a fall. So, I get it. One, what I heard out of your story is the problem we were trying to solve isn't the real problem, right? They need to stand up. So, we start buying the wrong products, and then we're all working full time, so you don't have time to sort of step back and look at that holistic view. So, having somebody else come in and really be able to do that, I think is really valuable from a comfort perspective and time perspective. So, fantastic. So, my question is the audience question. What can we do to help you?
Yeah, I think your question at first about how do we get people to understand about the product, the service being available, I think that's really the biggest thing. So the biggest thing that you can do to help me is to let me know if you know people that are in the medical facilities that I can connect with. Give that brochure away to somebody and share that this service exists. That's really like our biggest need at the moment, because there's no better recommendation than coming from somebody that you love.
All right, very good. Thank you, everybody.
All right, it is announcement time, and we're going to start with our video from Startland News for the week.
Reporter Austin Barnes, let's get you caught up on today's trending stories. Inclusion for All, the fuel behind Kansas City greeting card startup Paloma Post. Just launching in January, the company has already seen success helping couples feel represented with their creations on Valentine's Day. The greeting card space is ripe for innovation in Hallmark country, says the company's founders. Find out more about ways they're flipping the script at startlandnews.com. A lack of interest could be threatening success for Dube 3D, owners of the Overland Park 3D action figure printing company telling Startland business isn't what it should be for the company, nearing the end of its first year in business. Launched in Germany, Dube has seen success on the coasts and in other major cities around the U.S. Dube's team says public lack of knowledge about 3D printing and its capabilities could be to blame. A new UMKC Student Accelerator set to pick its first winner at the Entrepreneurial Education Summit next month. Students from each of the UMKC campuses have been competing for prizes topping $15,000 since mid-October. Those stories brought to you by Enterprise Bank and Trust. Of course, you can find more at startlandnews.com 24/7. We also invite you to subscribe to our weekly email digest.
All right, next we have an announcement from our friends at the SEC.
Hi, everybody. You're probably wondering why somebody from the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission is here today. And we're here because we have been in town with the U.S. State Department for a global entrepreneurship summit that occurred the past 2 days that brought folks in from across the country and around the world, focused on what's happening with capital in the heartland. And we're thrilled to have stuck around and decided that we wanted to host a town hall here in Kansas City and hear from you about the issues you're facing with capital raising. The SEC is the entity that you're going to run into as you start to bring investors into your company. And we are a part of a new office that was created by Congress to try to ease the regulatory burdens and make the process work better for you. So we invite you all to join us after this event. And I think, is it 1A? Is that the room? 1B? It's this direction, I know that much. But we would love for you to come and share. I'm the first director, was appointed to lead this new office, and I'm thrilled to be here in Kansas City. Would love to hear your perspectives and to learn more about the successes that you're having here. So thank you. Very cool.
And finally, we have an announcement from our friends from the Girl Scouts.
Lucy Johnson. Me and my sister are selling Girl Scouts in the lobby. If you, you can buy them for $5 a box, cash or credit. Thank you for supporting Girl Scouts. Have a nice day.
And now we're going to welcome up our second presenter, Cynthia with Launchcrate Publishing.
Good morning. Wait a minute. Good morning. Good morning. There's that energy. energy. I love it. I am Cynthia, and I am from Launchcrate Publishing. I'm the founder. I call myself the Chief Opportunity Officer. I wear many, many hats because I'm the only person doing this full time. How many of you out there would call yourself a reader, an avid reader? Okay, love it, love it. Leave those hands in the air. How many of you have ever read a book, period? There it is. I just like audience participation. All right. So Launchcrate Publishing is a publishing company that is flipping the book industry on end, one book at a time. Sounds ambitious, right? It is pretty ambitious. But every book that we can publish, every book that we can help to publish, will help to make a ripple effect that will continue to spread. So let me tell you a little bit about how we are doing this and why we're doing this. It all started because of a Christmas cookie and 14 cents. So I took a leap of faith working at a full-time job. Wasn't sure where I was going to land, but in the middle of that leap, I wrote and illustrated a story about a Christmas cookie that was all about having faith in a time where I needed it myself, right? Having faith when you can't see what's on the other side of something. So I did a lot of research. I got a lot of good feedback when friends and family read the story. And what I found is that I didn't want to take the traditional route, but I wanted to publish it myself. So I thought I found what was a great company online to host the book and to also push it to Amazon. What I discovered after using this company is that a book that was supposed to have a $5 profit margin left me with 14 cents. So essentially, the company flipped me a quarter and asked me to make change. That's how little I was making on this book, this particular book. So I looked at the service that was online that I was using, and I looked at the number of books that they had published, and there were thousands and thousands and thousands of books, which told me that thousands and thousands and thousands of people were getting the short end of the stick. And I knew there had to be a better way. So I started doing some research. I started writing more books, started publishing more books, landed at the end of that leap, was working full-time somewhere else. So I wasn't publishing books full-time. I was working full-time, writing, illustrating, publishing, and then helping other people learn how to find the path of best fit for them. So that gets a little tiring because it's basically 2 full-time jobs. So I got to a place about 4.5 years in where I had to make a decision whether or not to continue my journey working full-time during the day and then putting on my superhero publishing cape at night, or whether or not to take another leap of faith and do this full-time. So I took another leap of faith, and that was in August of 2017 where I started doing this full-time. So the way that we are flipping the publishing industry on end is in 2 ways. Traditional publishing, typically there is a 60-40 split with the big 5 publishing houses, and that 60-40 split is actually 40% to the author and 60% to the publishing house. Right, let me say that again. 40% to the author, the person who is writing the book that the publishing houses are selling, and 60% to the publishing house themselves. And that again is a red flag for me. It's a signal that something is off balance. So publishing houses are getting millions and millions of dollars selling work that they didn't create. So for us, we have flipped that 60-40 split. So 60 is going to the author and 40% is staying with Launchcrate as the publishing house. One thing that we don't have the ability to do yet is to offer in advance. But what's good for the author is that right out of the gate, you're receiving royalties for your work. You don't have to sell X number of books to meet that advance before you start gaining your, in our case, 60%. In the big house world, 40%. Okay? We also offer publishing services in an effort to try to help others learn how to navigate the publishing industry for themselves. So we offer anything from book design, cover design, interior design, editing services, and then also some focus coaching to help people figure out what they want from their book and then how to go get it. So that's how we're doing it. Our ultimate goal as a company is a ripple effect of personal and professional empowerment. And what we're trying to do is to connect all of the innovative ideas and authors that are out there to the eager readers that are looking for new work. And we're doing that through inspirational stories, through focus coaching, and then also immersive experiences. All of this is happening through 4 different columns. So for us, innovative books and finding innovative stories and getting those out into the world either through us as the publisher or through helping others become their own publisher is our major effort. So we publish children's books, and afterwards, I'll see if I can hold these up so that you can see them. But we offer, well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So we offer children's books. We also have published what we call the modern memoir. So this one specifically, I'm gonna have you skip to this and open this up for me. Inside this modern memoir, you'll find QR codes, which you can scan and then be transported to the living room of my grandfather instead of just reading his stories for yourself. So you are transported to the living room couch. So that's our version of the modern memoir. We also have published some biographies. We've helped to publish some history books as well. So you name it, we've done it, including devotionals. So A to B, A to Z, I should say. We're everywhere in between there. We also have a podcast where we seek to do something similar to what you see here happening at 1 Million Cups. So we have a bunch of different people from different professions that come in and share a little bit about their journey as a human being here on Earth. And what they end up sharing is not just how they got to where they are now, and not just about what they're doing in their career, but what drives them as a human. And in doing that, what we're finding is that people are becoming more and more empowered to go out and share their story. We also have a blog, which I'll kind of glaze over because I haven't posted anything since January. And then we also have several empowerment initiatives, most of which are happening through social media. Excuse me. But we also have our Ella Ambassadors Initiative, which is taking place in a few elementary schools around the Kansas City area. So that's us in a nutshell. Hard to condense in 6 minutes. I hope that you all have lots of questions. I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I like your plug, lady.
Thank you.
The library recently opened what we call the Story Center, and we became our own publishing house because we kind of identified the same thing that you were out there. We went, man, if you're nonfiction local history,
Right.
how do you get your stuff out there?
Right.
And we want those stories to be told. So we definitely applaud you for noticing that and coming up with such an awesome thing out here. My question for you is, why don't I know about you yet?
Because I've been trying to make sure that the foundation is solid before going out and spreading the word to folks. So,
can I hit you with something?
Absolutely.
So, unfortunately, a lot of the also everyone look at their shoes because they're amazing. Sorry, totally distracted. Back to the point at hand.
Sure.
So many of these things that people talk about up here every week aren't linear. It's spinning plates.
Right.
And it all has to happen kind of together, kind of at the same time, and then it grows and it develops and it evolves and it changes together. So while you which I applaud, building the solid foundation. Where's the rest of your team that keep the other plates spinning?
Right now, I'm the only one that's doing this full time. I have an awesome husband that is our vice president of miscellaneous stuff. That's his actual official title. It's on his name tag. My mother is also very helpful. She also has an official name tag, as does my father. And then I have a really good friend that's down in Texas, and she's helping with stuff as well. So as of now, I have volunteers. What I would like eventually is to see if I can find someone to help do some work locally.
If you need free help right now, professional help later, I would like to see your authors that you're working with, because this is something we've found a lot of success with.
Okay.
Turning the people who you are helping get their original content out, in turn, using them to help you increase your reach. So that you're not trying, we know. I mean, we work at corporate library world, but we know how expensive it is to add team members, and you get what you pay for.
And I might add, they're doing a really good job of that. I don't know if he's watching this. He probably is watching this from California, but word of mouth has been really helpful. It's so helpful that I'm actually finalizing an agreement with an author in California so that I can get his children's book published. So it's helping.
Awesome.
People are spreading the word, and I love it.
I love the use of QR codes in your books. I think that's really innovative and interesting. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the changing landscape of the book publishing industry? A lot of people are talking about how the big publishing houses are moving towards ebooks, and I don't know how much you're involved in the ebook realm, but can you talk a little bit more about the innovations that you hope to do with the publishing?
Sure. It's interesting to watch the big publishing houses as they try to figure out how to cope with all of the other smaller publishing houses. And I've seen them start to turn towards a print on demand and a self-publishing model themselves for some of them, which I thought was pretty interesting. But after researching, I noticed that it still wasn't as beneficial to the author as doing it themselves. I don't know if many people are aware of this, but technology and inserting that into books outside of just QR codes is starting to become a really big trend. And there are even apps now so that you can set up pictures. You don't need QR codes for it. You can set pictures in your book, and when it's scanned with the app, it gives you additional information. So that's kind of the avenue that we're leaning towards now as well. So you don't have to have a QR code that aligns with something. It's great because you can direct it to whatever you want to direct it towards, but incorporating other creative uses of technology into actual print is something that we're absolutely leaning into, which is where my vice president of miscellaneous stuff comes in, because he's a tech guru.
So you said a lot, and part of the problem was no one was taking care of these authors, which we know from Jin Man, who's a local author, people I want to punch in the throat. There might be a curse word somewhere in that title as well. Who has a big time top 5 book deal, right?
Yes.
And was very open and honest, imagine that, about the fact that she still had to pay for all of her marketing and advertising, and she was paying for her own flights to book fairs and all of those things, even with the big 5 behind her. So I love that you're addressing their needs and you're solving their problems. Are you taking care of you? Because there's also a reason why it's 60-40.
Yes, absolutely making sure that we're receiving enough fair compensation to keep moving forward, not just to break even, or I would not have split it 60-40, it might have been 50-50.
I love it when people say they break even, but they haven't been paying themselves, and I'm always like,
that's tough.
That's a fib.
Yeah.
Are you looking at regional scene national scene? You just mentioned California.
Mm-hmm.
Are you working your local angle? Are you only as a publisher going, no, I'm a children's and a nonfiction / memoir? Who is your writing customer?
I think anyone who is interested in publishing a book is someone that is one of our customers, or family members of someone who is interested in writing a book, tapping into their network and helping them to learn how to communicate that finding the information online is different than receiving focused coaching to help you, where someone already has done the work and the research and the legwork for you. I think those are the people that we're connecting with the most.
Point of self-interest. Did you know the #1 selling genre fiction in the world is actually romance?
I believe that, yes.
Oh my God, somebody wooed.
It's one of our avid readers.
So we would love to see you at the library in August because we do a business writing conference for romance authors. There are actually 63 romance authors in the Kansas City Metro right now making money selling romance.
Awesome.
Independently for
Yes.
most of them.
Yes.
So we would love to have you.
I'd love to be there.
I hate to cut off a librarian talking to a publisher. Like, this is like a match made in heaven, right? But we do have some audience questions, and I'm sure that you guys will catch up offline after this, so fantastic.
Hey, how's it going? I don't know why, but I feel more nervous than she was selling Girl Scout cookies. But I got 3 fantasy books of my own that I wrote. It's 300 pages in like page form, but like book form. For me, typing it up, I spend every day at the library. I feel like it would be like 300 pages rather than 100 pages.
Right.
Each book would be over 300 pages. And I was wondering, I targeted a 6th grade audience, and your books there look a little thin compared to what mine might look, and I didn't know what type of audience that you would publish for, like, so I was just curious if maybe we could talk a little more.
Absolutely, we can. And I don't know if he got all the way down to it, but we actually have published the first in a series of books for middle grade readers as well, so we would hit about the same age range, but yes.
It's fantasy, so it's...
I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Howdy. Can you talk a little bit more about your focus coaching and sort of how that fits into the model, both as a resource and then also, like, is that something where, so let's say I'm an author and I have a book and I come to you and I'm like, hey, like, this thing is kind of crap, but I want to get it published, can you help me? Or is it, hey, I have an idea, sorry. Or is it, I have an idea and I need help figuring out how to write the thing that I think is going to be useful, and are those independent then services that I can like hire you for, or is that something where we need to kind of be already under your roof to take advantage of?
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
And I've coached folks who are in both spectrums. And the rates for the individual coaching is actually listed on our website. And I think it's maybe $55 for, I don't remember which one's in person and which is online. That's horrible. It's on the website. And so the coaching is an hourly rate. If you're interested in learning how to publish, and you should use our services for book editing and design and all of that, we'll package all of that together, including the coaching sessions. Good question.
Kind of short here, sorry. So how would someone who's just getting into writing, how would your publishing company benefit them versus going the self-publishing route, especially if they don't have a huge budget to do so?
Oh, that's a good question. And I get this question all the time, and I always struggle with how to answer the question. And usually it depends on the individual author themselves, right? So I've worked with folks who have a series already mapped out in their head and sometimes already mapped out on paper. And those folks I usually will encourage, and this is going to sound bad from a business perspective, but I usually will encourage them to use publishing services with Launchcrate instead of publishing with us. While I would love to publish another series from another author, there's more value to me and a bigger ripple to me occurs if you're equipped to go out and share your story of how you did this yourself. Yeah.
Hi, so I'm definitely an avid reader and I'm a writer. I have found personally, and I've even gone to Mid-Continent Public Library, that there are a lot of different identities that seem to be left out in traditional publishing. I myself am a non-binary gender fluid person, and I struggle to find myself in books. So I'm just wondering, especially as you have this huge focus on empowering others and people telling their stories, do you go out and seek like maybe those different identities, LGBTQ or other ethnicities, all those types of stories in particular, and how do you kind of keep that sustainable? Because a lot of people who focus on those things are very small presses who probably have razor thin margins too.
So I don't seek it out specifically, but specifically for folks who consider themselves writers, what I do encourage them to do is to write themselves into the story, because your narrative is powerful, and you can represent your narrative better than I can represent your narrative. So I guess, does that answer your question? Kind of? Okay.
Hi, I'm a marketing person, so I'm kind of looking at it through that lens.
Yeah.
What made you think of the name Launchcrate? How did you land on that?
So my initial thought was soapbox, and there's such a negative connotation associated with that. And so I thought about what we're actually trying to help people do. We are giving them a crate to stand on, to share their message, but we're not just saying stand on this crate, we're helping them to launch their story into the world. So that's where Launchcrate came from.
Do you have a tagline?
Innovating, connecting, inspiring.
Okay. One thing I would be worried about is how closely your name sounds to Loot Crate,
okay,
the company. Totally different model.
Gotcha.
And it's not abundantly clear what your differentiator is from your homepage,
Sure.
your website. So I would try to hone in on that.
Will do.
In your logo, it looks like a light bulb hanging. Is that on purpose?
Yeah, so it's a pin nib, and there's a light bulb on the inside of the pin nib.
Okay. Yeah, I would just probably put some more focus on your differentiators on your homepage.
Awesome.
But it's great aesthetically.
That's great feedback to have. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I have buttons up here, so as we wrap up, I'm going to walk to center stage over here. If you'd like one of Launchcrate's pins, please come find me. And then the presenters will both be up here to speak afterwards. So last question to you, what can we as the audience do to help?
I think continuing to spread the word is helpful. If you all are aware of, okay, let me reel back some. So the feedback that I just got from our marketing guru, she provided some really helpful feedback from her lens of expertise. And because I'm wearing so many hats, I'm not always focused on those. So if there's something that you've noticed on our website that we might need to consider, something you might think about in a business model that we might need to consider, any food for thought is welcome. I'm not necessarily always going to eat it, but it's helpful to have it. And then if you all are aware of grant opportunities or anything that would help me to be able to pay an intern so that they feel value for the work that they are contributing to our vision, that would also be tremendously helpful as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Round of applause. And thank you everyone for coming.
You're Kelly Head. Yes. I'm Kate Marshall, and I am working with a SCORE person named Linda Zapula. Who talks about every time we sit down. Have you talked to Kelly Head? Yeah, you need to talk to Kelly Head. This is what Kelly Head can do for you. So I need your card. I'm going to give you mine. I am starting a business called Show Me Kansas City that is about hopefully working with recruiters attracting and retaining great people to Kansas City because I want to show them why Kansas City. So I want to help them over that decision of, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. I moved here from New York 55 years ago. I'm a huge champion for the city. I love it. And Linda's very eager for me to do my competitive analysis. Like, I can't find other people to do this. And you can watch it live too. So I am very. You start to like find you and think you're good.
Yeah, no problem. What's your availability like?
I'm a little nuts for the next 2 days. I'm out of town for 4 days.